right, so Dylan, let's go back to a time that was not that long ago, but back to a time when time kind of didn't have any meaning. Let's go back to lockdown real quick.
Oh boy.
uh so were you one of the people who had like a crazy amount of free time during lockdown, or were you one of the essential folks who basically had no time on their hands anymore?
I was initially I we were deemed essential during the first set of layoffs. So we were still going to work just like normal. And then after maybe a few months we thought, okay, we're in the clear. Like they laid off a bunch of people, but like they need our departments. We're good. And
Mm-hmm.
then round two of layoffs came around and then we were all gone. So it was like, damn, guess we're not as essential as we thought. So from then on, for the next I don't know how long it was. Maybe I want to say like maybe even a whole year. Yeah, it was definitely close to around a year. Nothing but free time. I put more hours into my Xbox in that year alone than probably my entire lifetime combined. Time frame.
Wow. So that means you had more time like then as an adult than you did like in
As a kid.
middle school, high school.
Because at least you're going to school every day, but once you get laid off and like you have to go on the unemployment check for a little while, you fall into that habit,
Right.
of like, okay, I'm gonna wake up in the morning, do a little bit of job searching, send out some applications, and then there's a little bit of free time in my next 8 hours straight, so might as
Mm-hmm.
well knock it out with some Xbox.
That's a vibe, dude. And do you mind saying a little bit about what your job was at the time that you were
Yeah.
essential at one point and then suddenly you were not?
So for my job back then, it was I was in the estimating department of a construction company up in the north side of DC. They do
Ooh.
mostly like road work construction for the like DC government area, like Department of Transportation or
Mm-hmm.
even other like infrastructure stuff like the DC water plants. They'll work on like water lines underneath the city. They do a lot of just like you know construction for DC in general, but typically never anything building related. It's always like roads and underground. And for me, my role was just outreach inside of the estimating department. So personally, I knew it wasn't essential. I knew it wasn't important to be calling these people and asking, hey, do you want to work with us on this project?
Yeah.
Because nobody ever answered anyway. Every person I ever asked was always like, no, we'll pass. We're not helping you on that project. We're passing for now.
Mm-hmm.
But it was required by law to make that attempt of outreach in any of these projects. If you wanted to win that project with, whatever DC fragment there was, you had to go and make an effort. They called it the good faith efforts. You had to give smaller businesses a chance to work with you on larger government projects.
Right.
That was my whole role, was to sit there and just call other construction companies, women-owned businesses, disadvantaged businesses,
Mm-hmm.
minority-owned businesses, things like that, and just call through a whole roster. But funny thing, everybody in all those companies knew our company because we were one of the bigger ones. They knew my boss. They all hated him, so no one ever said they wanted to work with us. I would be like, yeah, working on a new project. We're going to be attempting to acquire this, and we want to know if you wanted to help us with some of the excavation work on this project, since you guys specialize in that category. You working on it? No, we'll pass this time around. Maybe check back next year. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's essentially how it went. I never ever once got a single person that wanted to work on a project with us. So
Wow.
that was, I guess, why I was deemed no longer necessary.
All due to the man who was unwell.
Oh, he was a difficult person to communicate with. Yeah,
Man,
I can
yeah.
tell you a good handful of stories about that. I don't know if you have the time for that.
I mean, it's fascinating to me because it's crazy how, you know, a bad boss can have such a huge impact on the entire job. Like all
Oh
parties
yeah,
involved, both the employees and the customers.
I don't mean to gossip, but I think he got forced into like early retirement by the rest of the company after a few years of that. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure exactly the details. It's just rumors from the other people I still talk to that work there, but they said that he stopped at some point and it was like retirement, but we're not sure. So we just know everybody in every department was aware of him,
Mm-hmm.
and he had just been with the company for so many years, like 30 something years, that he was kind of ingrained in the system and nobody really knew how to get rid of him, it seemed like.
Gotcha. So he was in that sweet spot of kind of being untouchable,
Yeah,
and so
immortality.
and so they kind of had to like figure out how to nudge him out.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they did it, but if only they did it a little bit sooner, maybe a couple of years. But
What if
yeah.
they're like, "Hey, wouldn't you much rather be on vacation all the time and play golf and other
He
things retired people
his
do?"
two favorite things were playing golf, funny enough. Like it was the stereotypical like golf playing like, you know, CEO. He's not a CEO, but still.
Hmm.
And he would always, every single Wednesday, always go out to a fancy restaurant for a huge steak dinner. And I think he would get multiple steaks. So he wouldn't just get one steak. I think he would get multiple, and he would devour that stuff. All gone. He would eat that up, and we were all, oh, now we remember he had like medical conditions and had to take leave, and we all knew it was because of how much he goes out and like just swallows like steaks whole every
Inhales
single
entire
week.
cows.
Absolutely, every week every Wednesday like clockwork for lunch. So we all kind of saw that coming.
Hmm.
That was maybe part of the reason
It
that he
was a
ended up
matter
having
of time.
that.
You can only eat so many cows before your body catches up. Um,
Things will start to shut down.
s- Speaking of cows, and just animals in general, uh, if you could interview any animal at the zoo, which animal would it be and what would you ask?
Okay? Is it a bad thing that the first thing I thought of was a dragon, even though you said the zoo? Because that would be so cool. But
Yeah, that would be cool, Aragon, but unfortunately, we don't
okay,
have access to those.
a real answer though, like those little red pandas at the zoo, they're so cute. They're so adorable.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've been to the zoo up in DC, but
It's been a
it's
minute.
it's definitely like the red pandas that they have there are just adorable and like super active and just they look like they're a fusion between raccoons and like apparently they're pandas, even though they look like
Yeah.
raccoons with like ginger on them. It's just I I want to know what they're up to. I bet they have some seriously political views.
I mean, they're too busy training larger pandas in the art of kung fu. I do
No,
remember the red pandas at the DC Zoo. I remember the several times I would visit, uh, the red panda was like the big attraction. Like it used to be the
oh yeah,
normal, boring pandas. And then when I guess China gave us one of their red pandas, suddenly that was like the big marketing thing that DC would use all the time. They're like, "Come see our red panda." And I think I tried 3 different times and 3 different visits to see the red panda. And each time the panda like wasn't out. Like it was just indoors doing something. Like there wasn't
yeah.
even an indoor viewing space. It was just, no, it's inside.
They crawl right into that little hole and they buzz off for like hours.
Hmm.
I just got lucky. I think both times that I visited, they happened to be out. And there's two of them. There's two of the pandas, red
Oh,
pandas now.
nice.
Yeah, so they'll be running back and forth in and out. And I think it's just because we caught them like right around feeding time. Go towards the
Ah.
end of the day, like near the closer to closing time. I think that's when they pop out.
See
That's
that
when I see
that's my
them feeding.
problem. That's why I missed them. See it. I would always
You gotta
go
worry.
like either as a kid as a camper in summer camp, and then as I got older as a camp counselor, and so I went to that zoo too many times. Like honestly, I went too many times. um, but because it's a day camp, we would always go around 10:30, 11 a.m. and leave around 1-ish. So,
Yeah.
1,
Always
that's the
going at the
perfect.
ass crack of dawn.
Exactly. And it's perfect because the sun is right up there beating down, and you know how great DC humidity feels. So,
Oh, the entire park. It's easy going in, going downhill. You
mhm.
get to go straight into all the exhibits, get really deep in there, and then once you've walked around for 2.5 hours and you're starting to feel a little bit tired, now you have to make the humid walk all the way back uphill to the top again.
And you're just so sticky and heavy, and
You
there's
know that's why
always
they
like
put those like
bugs around
showers.
you.
Yeah, have you seen the elephant showers they have? You pull on the string and it just mists you.
I haven't seen those, but I have seen all the many mist machines that they'd have to put up because every time that we would go for camp, it happened to be on like the danger, it's hot days. And so the
The
zoo would have to put up
city
extra
warnings.
misters.
You guys, you guys planned it perfectly to go to the most unideal time
Yep,
imaginable.
the place with
You
the
got to
least amount of
procrastinate.
shade.
Come in right before closing. That's what I did for the Baltimore Aquarium too. I waited until it was like literally I gave them a call like a couple hours before and I asked them, "All right, I have some tickets for the aquarium. When's the latest I can come in? Because you guys close. I see you guys close at 5 o'clock tonight." And they said if you come in at 4:59, you can stay an extra hour. So I was like,
Wow.
bet. I
Life
waited, came
hack.
in at like 4:50 or so, and ended up leaving at 6 o'clock. Got the whole tour with nobody else there to bother me. I could see everything.
Wow. Okay,
You gotta
that's
you gotta
actually pretty
sneak in at the
nifty.
last minute.
That's a good idea. And like, oh man, I love a good aquarium. Like that was I think one of the the benefits of lockdown is that so many places like zoos and aquariums they just started doing live streams, and I was obsessed with like the Monterey Bay aquarium YouTube channel because they would do live streams of shrimp and of schools of fish and like sea lions, and I'm like, this
No,
is
no
amazing.
voiceover documentaries or anything. Just just the live stream of them in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, and they would put lo-fi music, and I remember like
Wait,
for the shrimp one, they
that
had all
actually
these
sounds
shrimp
good.
puns in the description. Like the title was lo-fi music to to clean fish tanks to, because it's just a bunch of like cleaner shrimp. And then it had a bunch of shrimp puns like in the description, and it was just the most pleasant thing, and I'm like, this is we need more of this.
With lo-fi, that sounds like honestly aquarium. Any kind of like aquarium like aesthetic seems like a pretty ideal screensaver as is. But then like throw on the lo-fi and you've got some really good study session music and like
Mhm.
atmosphere right there. Just the cleaner shrimp going up and down to some lo-fi beats while you're staying up late at night working on your project.
Mhm.
I could get behind that.
We're just looking at some jellyfish doing their thing, floating about.
Oh, have you ever touched a jellyfish? Like,
Oh, no, I almost did once, cause one washed up on a beach, and I remember I was a kid and like this other little kid was like poking at it, and they were like, "Hey, you want to touch the jellyfish?" And I'm like, because like the texture just it looks so weird, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, and
I'll
I
tell you
couldn't bring
exactly how
myself.
it feels. It's like so at the aquarium there are these moon jellyfish and from what they told us they don't shock you or anything like that,
Mhm.
but they still warned you not to touch the bottom because it hurts them, just to touch the top. And
Mhm.
I'm telling you, the top of them, like I put my hand in, I waited until I saw one like trying to like swim up to the top, and I
Yeah.
just put my finger down and let it bump into me. It felt like a peeled grape. Its
Uh,
whole body felt like a peeled grape. Oh my god. I'm not That's exactly how it felt,
I'm like
really.
full body cringing right now.
Just a whole shiver down your spine right there.
Yes.
I felt it too. As soon as I remembered feeling it, I was like, oh, what is that? What is that?
Oh my gosh, dude.
Okay, oh, I don't. It feels like it would be squishable, but it's really solid at the same time, and it's scary. I don't like it at all.
You just made me more uncomfortable now that you've given me that extra information. I did not need to also know. Yeah, it's kind of solid too, like oobleck or like whatever it's
It's
called.
like rock hard and smooth at the same time. They're
Oh
they're an
no.
abomination to nature, an anomaly. They shouldn't exist.
Yeah, those are the real aliens. Those are the
If
real
they
creatures that
are,
built the pyramids. Oh, I
with
I
their
love
brainless floating.
those like super alien theorists who are like,
Oh yeah, the
no,
conspiracy. Yeah.
any achievement that humans have ever had was due to aliens, not because humans are capable of doing anything.
Yeah, sprinkle the credit up there somewhere.
Yeah. Like, all right, cool. Guess humans are dumb and have never done anything ever except exist.
I remember, yeah, I remember you saying you went on like a binge phase through like a lot of those conspiracy ones for a while.
I mean,
Telling me about that,
because
I remember.
it's fascinating. You know, it the rabbit holes that people
What
go
extents
down.
they'll go to, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a valid point until you look at anything
Yeah,
realistic.
until you take a half step back.
Yeah, just look at anything in the peripheral at all.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I just wonder how does someone get to this point of suddenly this is their life?
Did you see that? Did you see that flat earther video of like them working on a project to prove that the Earth was flat? And what they did was they
Yeah,
had something miles
at the
miles
end of the
away.
dock. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they tried to like shine the light and like detect it with the sensor. And they're
Yep.
like, theoretically speaking, if the Earth is flat, I can keep it at the same height at my head level and detect the light. And then they tried it and it didn't work. And then they're like, well, if the Earth was round, I would have to raise the light and detect it then. And then they lifted it up immediately. It started showing on sensor. They're like, yeah, it's working now. Are you sure? Yeah, I can see the light. Interesting.
Yeah. And then roll credits.
Yeah, and then just cut ends right there, cut, and then they posted it. So, do you think they realize that they disprove themselves, or do you think they're like do you think they're all in it for like part of the like just a big prank? Like
I feel
this has all
like
been one big gotcha.
I feel like, you know, there's some people who legitimately believe that the earth is flat. But I think that's like the strong minority. And I think the majority of people or no, so the first minority, the smallest minority, um yeah, are the people who genuinely believe. I think the next minority are people who are doing or like saying it as a joke and seeing how many people they can like mess with slash fool. I think the majority of the people part of the flat Earth movement and similar groups like this are part of it just because they like wanted to find a group of people that they could hang out with. Because the big thing that came up in the documentary and other documentaries that cover topics like this, it's, you know, people who are saying, yeah, I didn't have any people who could be like my people, but these guys took me in and they treated me like family and stuff like that. So I'm like, I think it's mostly just people who are very lonely that came together.
I mean, realistically speaking, it's probably better for them to be adopted into like a complete like conspiracy theory group than to get adopted into like let's say a satanic ritualistic cult or something
Yeah,
like that. I'd say
all
that's a
things considered.
relatively healthy coping mechanism.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's like they chose the lesser of the evils.
They could have been out there worshiping Slenderman for all we know, but we got flat earthers instead. I'll take that. That's a dub in my book. That's a dub.
So I'm gonna shift a little bit and actually random question. Do you still play or own a saxophone?
It's in my closet there somewhere. The very same saxophone. Let me see if I can find it while we continue this conversation. But yes, I do. The very same one
Mm-hmm.
is somewhere in here, and I've just been lazy and haven't actually brought it out to play it.
Do you think your lungs could still handle that?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they could still play like three notes at a time.
There you go.
I'm
That's
sure.
that's all saxophonists do. Just play three notes and then take a knee for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's we go on rest for another like
You're like, all
go
right,
on rest for the majority of the entire song.
the
Play our 3 to 4 notes that's required for like the third part, and
exactly
then
to
go
make a
back to
full
rest.
sound.
It's definitely somewhere in the closet here, but I think it is buried under like a good handful of boxes. I'm sure you guys can see in the background. My closet's not exactly the most organized,
Ooh,
but
but this is a
I
great
could find
crib
it sooner
store.
or later. I know for sure it's in there because I my dad had me like come pick it up because I left it there for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't played it in maybe since I first grabbed it from him back then. So maybe a couple years now. It's been a couple years since touching it, but
Same.
once in a while I do like think about like could I still play saxophone? Like the other day, I actually was just what was I doing? I can't remember the exact context of the conversation, but I just started thinking like, do I still have like the breath like mechanics that that we were taught back in South Lakes? Let me see if I can just like breathe in through this until your stomach is filled, then fill up to your
Oh
lungs.
my
So like
gosh,
breathe in from the
yeah.
bottom. You remember that?
And
Like,
then take the sips of air.
and then you can
And then extra sips.
for a good while.
Mm-hmm.
So I was testing to see can I still do that, and I was like, at first I was just blowing air for no reason, just out of my lungs, and I was like, that I can't hold my breath as long as I could until I started doing the old tactics, the old strategies, the
Yep.
old faithful, the old faithful sips, and
Those
then
air sips.
it kind of did work. It kind of like snapped back into PTSD from band class, and I was like, I can do it again. I can hold a note for several seconds.
There you go. That's all you need. Yeah, my saxophone is also in a closet, and the last time I played it was a couple years ago. Back when I lived in a house. Oh, those were the days.
Oh yeah.
It was short lived, but it was beautiful because it was like apartment living. I always felt like, oh, I can't play saxophone because I'm in an apartment,
No, no. Yeah, no.
and no one wants to hear that. No one wants to
No
hear me
one's gonna let that
struggling
slide at all.
to
It's
get
true.
back into saxophone. So yeah, and once when we were in the house, I played it a little bit, and I was like, oh my goodness, my lungs are non-existent apparently.
I'm so curious now where I put it in the closet. But I know if I pull it out, there's no way I'm even gonna be able to play a single note. Those reeds,
They're
there's no way. There's no way I'm
crusty
touching a
and
single one of
dusty.
those at all. It is not going near my mouth.
Like, yeah, it's pretty wild just looking back at things from childhood that we hold on to, and it's like, am I gonna get back into that? Maybe, but the answer is probably no, but you're like,
Oh, yeah.
maybe.
I'll hold on to it. Maybe in a couple years I'll like pick it up again.
Maybe if I have lockdown time again on my hands.
Again. Yeah, the next major lockdown, we'll whip it out. We'll whip it out. Otherwise, it's just gonna become a fossil somewhere in that closet.
Yeah, or just a decorative piece.
Maybe I'll hang it on the wall. Yeah,
Yeah, like how
just
people hang their guitars.
brag about how I used to play saxophone in in high school, middle school, and high school.
Be like, yeah,
I used to be second chair, in my middle school band.
be jealous.
Won't you sleep with me now? Knowing that.
Now you want to see my yearbook?
Yeah.
I had over 20
You want,
signatures.
you want to see the concert photos that we took? I
Yeah,
got to wear a tuxedo that I rented.
I wore a cummerbund.
We were voted superior. You know that when we went to the competitions every year, we were superior.
Oh, I scored a 1 at solo and ensemble. That's the highest you can get. Oh my gosh. Yeah, dude, I don't even know if I would play sax again if I had lockdown time again. Like okay. I think if I were in a house, and I wasn't worried about people about disrupting the peace and I had lockdown time again, I I feel like I would at least pick it up a few times just to see what it's like again.
I would if I were to like have to or just be in the mood to like go play an instrument, it would be saxophone. Yeah, I would pick up the same one. I would go buy some fucking. Oh, sorry,
You're
language.
fine.
Reeds. I would go buy some reeds. I need like if I threw in some reeds, maybe some new cork grease. I don't know if that stuff's completely rusted out and just turned into like a brick of chalk by now, but I should probably get some more cork grease,
Mhm.
and then yeah, those some quality reads. I remember back then, like I was always confused on just all the different types and like brands and quality and styles of reads that I didn't know which one was like the ideal one. I promise you, back then I was probably always using like the wrong read for the wrong scenario. Like every time, I'm sure I am positive of it, just because I know they're all different. I know they all like have just tiny
Yeah.
little differences in
They
them.
have different numbers for a reason.
Okay, yeah, okay, but no, not the numbers. I'm talking like
Oh, like brand?
yeah, texture and like quality and stuff like that. And I never knew which one was like the ideal one to use for what. So
I
I know
just
I had like different brands just
yeah.
all scattered in my case, and I would just randomly pick the one I wanted to use.
I just grabbed whatever was in like that navy blue wrapper or like the
Oh,
navy blue
I
box. I don't remember what it's called, but
can't remember the brand,
I
but yeah, I know
remember
I
it
was.
was written in like cursive and I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure it was a navy blue box and had, navy blue wrappers
we're
and
talking like
yeah.
dark blue, like,
Mhm.
and it was like a foil wrapper,
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
Pokemon cards.
And I bought that because when I went to Rest in Music, they were like, "Use this," and I said, "Okay."
Do you think that's just the no, no, I was gonna say it's not the Rest in Music brand. No, I remember
It
I
is
got like an
definitely not the
assorted
Rest in
package
Music
of
brand.
different like red ones and green ones and all sorts of stuff. There was like different color coatings on the wrappers for different textures and styles, and
Hmm.
that's what I know I messed up by just mix and mashing those and forgetting what they do.
Well, also I figured I'm like I'm playing in high school. What like do I really need
Fair.
to go for different types of reeds? Like do I really need to buy the jazz reed when I'm playing in jazz band once a week? No.
Let me figure out how to play the instrument decently on one single style first
Mhm.
before mixing it up, and that was probably my problem.
Yeah.
Just winging it, just freeballing it across all different different styles.
I do have to say I did get kind of elitist a little bit at one point with reeds because I would always go for a slightly higher, like I guess, reed strength
Uh
than I
huh.
should have. Like I remember they said something like, "Yeah, you want to be at like 2.5, 3, and then just you're gonna have to swap them out a bunch of times." And I went, "What if I just went for 3.5?" And then it just lasts longer, and I
Just
did.
let it slide.
And so then
I'll,
people were like, "Whoa, you're using 3.5s and fours or whatever," and they were like, "Wow, that's so advanced." And meanwhile, I'm just like, I'm doing it because I'm lazy.
just force yourself to adapt to it so you don't have to maintain it so much.
Like, yeah, I'd have to, let it soak for a crazy long time before playing it so that it could be playable, and not, you know, a a board of wood, but it lasted way longer than other people who were playing on threes.
I think I think that's like the origin stories to like a superhero would be like you just trained yourself since day one with most difficult like you just put your life on hard mode just right from the start.
Mm-hmm. And it's all due to laziness.
He'd make it easier in the long run.
I guess I should get to the point of this podcast at some
Oh
point.
yeah.
I
Do tell, Lady Smith, what is the purpose of our conversation?
I mean, it's really to in part talk about like progress and growth and how we've grown as people and how we ideally would like to grow in the future. Um, I've just been having a blast talking about animals and now reeds.
Mr. Four.
Oh, ooh, we don't have
Oh
time for
man,
that.
for the next interview.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, is there I don't know, tell me about you as a person and is there an area in which you think that you've grown as a person over the years?
Uh, Grown as a person.
Yeah, because I feel
I'm
I've
sure.
known you for a good a good
I'm
handful of years. I'm just thinking back
yeah.
to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, has it
It's been
been over 10 years?
10 years. I think it's been 10 years.
Oh no, we are aging.
Yeah, it's been 10 years exactly now. It's been pretty much exactly 10 years since we were in band together way back.
That's
No, I
wild.
mean, if you want to, clearly, like, I progressed and like changed in some ways. I'm
Well, yeah,
a
you have
little
a
less
beard now.
goofy, and this did just pop up out of nowhere. Anytime that I ever get this shaved, and my coworkers they come and ask me like, "Hey man, did you shave? It's looking good." I'm like, "No, I sneezed and it all just came off."
I watered my
Just
face.
yeah. But like realistically speaking, yeah, I'm sure I've changed a whole lot in terms of just like maturity and things in general. Like I'm sure if you look back to like the goofy stuff I would say and do back in high school and middle school and all of that, it's probably super different from now. And I'd even stretch to say like middle school, I probably didn't even have a personality. To be fair, I just probably started adapting in one when I met you. But um, in like the last few years, especially, I mean, trying times do shape people pretty well.
Mhm.
Um, Throughout like the lockdowns and even back before that with like the things going on in my life where I had to help take care of my mom and balance school and college and have to like put everything on pause for like family situations and move all the way across the US like twice. Lots of stuff in just a short span of years really tends to like forge things into shape. So when it comes to like how I think I've changed, honestly, I wouldn't be sure of how to word how I've changed over the years. I just know there are changes, and I know that I'm not like the best person that I can be when it comes to like forging into like the perfect shape.
Mhm.
But I like yeah, everyone always has like room to grow, and I feel like I've done a lot of growing since way back then, and I feel like there's still more room for growing. To kind of just go through life and experience more things, learn how to handle things and adapt to things. And sooner or later, I'll probably be one of those like super old people, like imparting my wisdom on like 4 year olds.
Yeah, I wonder what our old person thing will be. Like, I think the thing now that, or the data technology is, people talking about how, oh, if you want to use the internet, you have to make sure no one's using the phone. You know, like, I wonder what the next thing will be. Like, the thing that you talk about that will instantly age you.
I'm sure you've already noticed some things that like age you between like music or games or just references that you make in general for pop culture. And like, it's pretty easy to get like your age is pinpointed like just from saying one sentence or even just using whatever slang you might use, especially now with like all the like focus between like millennial, Gen Z, and whatever the new one is. I can't remember. Is it Gen A or something like that? But
No, it's I mean, I know they're calling Gen Zers Zoomers.
yeah, but there's one that's like Gen. I think they called it like Gen A, Gen Alpha. I don't know what it was for
Oh, the
sure, but
alphas.
that's
When
not
are we gonna have Gen Sigma?
where. I can't wait for the for the the meta, Gen Meta. Me and my friend were talking about that the other day. She was saying that, like, I mean, we have alpha males, we have beta males, we've got the sigma males now.
Yeah.
What's next? We're gonna have the delta males coming out. What are the delta males gonna be?
Oh my gosh. I feel like, the delta males are going to exist only in, the commentary of the self-identifying sigmas and alphas. They'll be like, "Oh, the beta male does this, but the delta, like, I feel like it'll be like the delta male is actually a child." Like, like oh, because you're a child, you're just automatically delta
I
because
was
you
thinking of it
can't
like
you
the
can't
other
be
direction.
anything higher.
I was thinking like maybe not the other direction, but like on a completely separate section. In my head, when I think of like what would a delta male be, I would think it's like a sigma male, but eternally existing online.
Mm.
Like let's say in the world of VR, like you're a delta male. You live in the internet. You're not just women and things like that in like real life things that you don't need assurance from or whatever. You don't need anything from real life. Your whole life exists in virtual reality.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Like that could be a delta male,
Like
like
you're in
theist.
real life you only exist to keep yourself alive to go back into VR.
Go into VR some more. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's a delta male right there. Mark my words. If anybody sees this, and if sometime in the future we have delta males, or even just another like word for them of just like some kind of people that just disappear into VR for days and days at a time, just know I predicted it and called it
There you
right here
go.
and now.
Time stamping it.
Dylan, 2023. Let's
There it
quote it
is.
right there.
Get on it, Delta males. You now have a
Because
title. Go live your life.
I'm dragging us way off topic, but we were talking progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you measure progress out of curiosity?
Funny you should ask that, because that's like one of the main questions of this that I tend to ask everyone. Um, so it's interesting because I'm a teacher, so there's the way that I'm supposed to measure progress in terms of
Metric.
education and how so much of the world views success slash progress. So in some cases, I have to view progress as, you know, strictly on paper, crunching the numbers, have you improved your test scores from this point to this point. Um, and I hate that. That's like my least favorite type of progress, and yeah, I don't like it. Um,
Understand.
I think progress is, I think an essential piece is acknowledging where there can be room to improve and then putting forth the work to uh, get closer to achieving your goal. But and that can be across different areas. So if that's in education, let's say there's a kid who is just struggling with writing paragraphs. That like they're great at writing sentences, but for some reason when they have to put the sentences back to back and form a paragraph, it's just
This
not
sounds like
working.
personal experience.
Yeah, it's like either one big run-on sentence or nothing. um, and like on paper, according to testing standards, progress would be a kid going from that to being able to write a solid paragraph. And it's like, yeah, objectively, sure, that's the kid is progressing. But for me, I would much rather have the kid like understand why it's important to break up sentences. Like, you know, you can't just have a sentence that goes and goes with zero punctuation and have it make sense. I would rather have the kid understand, oh, this is why commas and periods exist, and then use that to be able to form a paragraph. I don't want them just putting stuff in there because it's a requirement, or they're like, well, Um, I've written 7 words, so therefore it's comma time. I don't
I
want
feel
that.
like
You
I feel
know.
like that's one aspect of progress for sure, because there's like the physical aspect of progress, like being able to just physically like write out like commas go after and
Hmm.
or something like that, right? Or before I really, but
Well,
there's
I'm
physical progress
I'm a
in that
strong
sense.
believer in the Oxford comma.
The strong progress, like there's like you can see like the physical progress in that sense, like being able to just know like you got to do this, you got to do that, following these like rules written out. But there's also like the mental progress you were just talking about now, like the mental and or emotional in different categories, but just understanding something of
Hmm.
why it would need to be that way. Not just knowing how to do it, but knowing why to do it. How would be the physical aspect? Why would be the mental or emotional?
Yeah.
So why sentences would need these commas and how to put them in are two sides of that same understanding, and showing improvement in like either side could be shown as progress.
Yeah, and I think also like the final piece to that is the confidence you have or gained throughout the process. I think that's also a major key, to quote DJ Khaled.
That's I agree with that completely. Being able to have the confidence, that's probably the end goal to like really confirm that you've made progress, is when you have that confidence to back it up, to be confident that you can do it again,
Hmm.
is when you know that there's been progress made, to have confidence in something.
Yeah.
I think that's like a very key, like progress is probably something that's hard to measure outside of just like metrics in an academic setting. But I think just having that rule of thumb of like, if it's something that you weren't confident in before, but being confident now,
Yep.
is a good way to really measure it with yourself.
Hmm. All right, I'm gonna hit you with some rapid fire questions to end this thing out.
All right, shoot.
So no deep thinking, just first thought that pops into your mind, and away we go. Question number 1: what's the best shape?
Circles, probably. Yeah, probably
Circles.
circles.
Okay. Who was your childhood crush? Like childhood celebrity crush.
Jennifer Aniston.
All right. That ages you quite a bit.
Yeah. Stop it. Stop.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Crush back there. Come on.
What did you want to be when you grew up? When you were a kid?
A Navy SEAL. I was talking about it all the way
Yep.
up until high school.
I remember that.
Yeah, you do. Because it's that dream stopped around like junior year maybe.
Give me a fun fact.
Fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, oh, what category? First thing I can think of is that I'm streaming now, just like you, inspired by the best Ladysmith there is.
Sure, I'll take that as a fun fact. Um, and then let's see. If you could get a no consequences tattoo, what would you get?
Okay, hear me out. I'm a little bit of a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought about this. I probably won't get it anytime, but if I ever do, just go all out. I'm getting. If you guys have ever played Halo,
Mm-hmm.
there's the ODST emblem. It's like a drop pod with like a skull and just flames on it. I would get that, but a big one in the very center of my back, like right on my spine,
Mm.
with like essentially just eagle wings, like spread across my shoulder blades, with like ribbons going on all the way across. Something really big and fancy. Just you get it across my shoulder blades on my back, like with the flaming drop pod as the centerpiece. Just it would be pretty hardcore. But also I would want to be pretty in shape for that. I would have to get like pretty like pretty ripped for it to
Mm-hmm.
look really nice too. So it'd be a collaborative effort from two different sides.
Okay, right on. Um, if you had to trade a state for Puerto Rico, which state would you trade?
Ooh, Connecticut. Yeah, you can take that one.
You don't have to explain it.
Do I have to
No,
explain
you
why?
don't have to explain.
Okay, good. Good. Sorry, guys. Just Connecticut. I don't think it's necessary.
And then, what's a movie line you quote often?
Do I quote a movie line often? Honestly, I just quote stuff that I hear from the internet.
Oh,
One of my
okay.
most
Well,
famous ones
hit us with
being,
one of them.
sometimes it be how it do. It's one of my biggest mottos in life.
Oh my god.
Anything bad happens, my life's falling apart, everything's in flames and shambles, like the worst day of my life, and I can just cope with it entirely just by telling myself,
Oh,
man, sometimes it just be how it do. And then I feel so much better and just move on to the next thing.
it do be like that.
It do be like that sometimes.
Wow. I think on that note, we're gonna we're gonna we're gonna.
Hmm?
I was not expecting that. You got me there. Uh,
This sometimes it be how it do.
sometimes it be how it do.
Wise words from the internet.
Oh my gosh. I think that's gonna be the title of this episode.
Roll
Wow.
credit.
Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason that feels like that could be, some side character song in a Disney movie.
Right, right next to that one song that Gaston sings in
Oh my
in
gosh.
Beauty and the Beast.
That's like one of my favorite songs, period. Like I reference that song and just the movie of Beauty and the Beast so often whenever I stream Stardew Valley. Like all of my animals are named after Beauty and the Beast characters. Like
Cogsworth.
yes, Cogsworth is a cow. Lumiere is a goat.
I played Lumiere in a school performance in theater class. I was Lumiere.
And how was it? Were you the star?
Couldn't do a good French accent, so I had to do a British one instead.
Well, to be fair, in the Beauty and the Beast reboot with Emma Watson, you know, everyone has British accents except for Ewan
Really?
McGregor playing Lumiere, who is like, no, I'm gonna try to be French. We're in France.
So I'm the only disappointment. That's what I'm hearing.
You just pulled a reverse Ewan McGregor.
I'm the only one that's British.
All right. Thanks for coming on. I've I'm gonna cut off the in the editing process the recording a little bit earlier, so you're good. You can relax now.
I did pretty good. I dropped one F bomb in the middle, so
That's
sorry,
okay.
but
That could easily be edited out.